Challenger sitting on the pad as
10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Engines at 65%, 3 engines running normally, 3 good fuel cells, 3 good APUs. Velocity 2,257 feet per second. Altitude 4.3 nautical miles, downrange distance 3 nautical miles.
So the 25th Space Shuttle mission is now on the way after more delays than NASA cares to count. This morning it looked as though they were not going to be able to get off.
1 minute 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles, downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
Looks like a couple of the solid rocket boosters blew away from the side of the shuttle in an explosion.
Flight controllers here looking very carefully at the situation. Obviously a major malfunction.
We're awaiting word. They're holding their breath, just, I'm sure, as everyone else is. In the center of the fire and the smoke, you can't see any form of what was once the shuttle. You saw it just a few moments ago, about 45 seconds after liftoff, a huge fireball in the sky.
We have a report from the flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded. Flight director confirms that. We are looking at checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point.
My name is Brandon Newkirk, and I'm here with Karen Newkirk, my mom, to talk about the incident that happened in January 28, 1986. So, Mom, what exactly happened on this date?
The Space Shuttle Challenger exploded.
And how old were you when this tragedy occurred, and where were you and what were you doing at this moment?
When this happened, I was approximately, I want to say, about 13 years old. And I was actually at school when it happened, so in middle school.
And as you were watching this tragedy take place, what emotions were going through your mind?
Well, at first we were really excited seeing the astronauts get in the shuttle. And then when the explosion happened, we were first shocked. I remember me and a few classmates and even the teacher, we were all kind of looking at each other, not understanding what happened. So at first it was excitement, shock, and then despair. We were really upset.
And who was the president at this time?
Ronald Reagan.
And did you watch his speech after the Challenger accident?
Yeah, I remember my parents were watching the speech on the news. I watched a little bit of it here and there, but I was so upset about it. I didn't listen to a lot of the speech at all.
And and there were millions of people watching this. So how do you think the media and the nation reacted to this tragedy?
They were, like I said before, just a lot of emotions, just shock and just saddened and just a lot of despair and just really upset. The nation was in mourning for the astronauts.
And at this point in history, since we witnessed the first man to walk the moon, which wasn't too long from this event, do you think that the nation was a little disappointed that the challenge didn't go as successfully because they were as they were hoping?
Absolutely. I mean, not only disappointed, but just upset with the loss of life. I mean, it was a horrible, horrible tragedy.
All right, and what was the major reason for the accident?
I don't know all the technical um, about the accident. I just know it was a rocket booster failure. I remember that.
And how many people died on this accident?
I believe it was seven astronauts. And Krista, one of them was named Krista. I
Yeah,
believe.
Krista McAuliffe. And
Yeah.
when you were watching it live on TV, when did the Challenger actually explode?
I remember them getting on. I believe it was about 2 to 3 minutes after liftoff.
Wow. And and how does it feel watching the space shuttle explode like that? Like that was a tremendous explosion.
Absolutely. It was, we were all just very upset. And I remember crying. I looked over my classmates, even my teacher, we were all crying. News media were crying. So it was a really upsetting moment when this happened.
And with the advance of technology, do you think that there will ever be a malfunction like this again?
That's a good question. I think we can all hope that there won't be anything as tragic as this, but accidents occur, things happen. So I wouldn't doubt if something would happen in the past. You would just hope that it doesn't happen um, with this much loss of life happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like let's say like this malfunction like happened again. Do you think that space travel will be safe anymore?
I would say yes and no. Basically, I think that they would probably look at the malfunction and reassess what happened. And I believe that they will continue and it will slowly get safer and safer. So, yes.
And how do you think the explosion would shape the future of our space program?
Um, I think there it was hard lesson learned. I think they went back and reassess everything, and I think it's something that will continue to happen. The space program will be successful and has been successful in the past. So after this happens, so
And what do you remember the most about this event?
well, other than the tragedy that happened, just how the nation, we all came together, we mourned together, and it was just a hard lesson to learn. But we have tenacity to pick ourselves up and to continue the missions.
And could we blame NASA for letting this happen?
I think NASA had something to do with it as far as the equipment.
Yeah, but could we
So,
blame them?
um, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, accidents happen, so I don't know what safety precautions should have been done or not. I'm not sure.
And do you think that in the future that um that space travel will get safer?
Yes, I do. I mean, it has. I mean, it's been many more launches that have happened, and it's been safer. So hopefully, it's been a lot of good lessons learned. So yes, it's getting safer.
And with malfunctions like this, why do you think that astronauts are so dedicated to put their lives on the line like this for space travel?
It's going to the unknown and just learning about the unknown. It's so much to explore in space. So I think it's something that um, they're going to continue to do and see what's out there. As humans, we're always looking to explore. So I think it's something that's always going to happen.
And it's yeah, this got to be a like a great experience, right?
What?
To go, travel in space and
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think there'll be many more astronauts that are traveling in space, and everyday citizens will one day be traveling in space as well.
And one last question. Do you think that like when stuff like this happens nowadays, do we get our news better than we did before then, like during the 1980s?
Well, I think with social media, a lot of information would definitely get out. Instagram, Facebook, so information would definitely spread a lot, faster, and especially amongst the younger generation. So yes.
All right, thank you, Mom. Okay, now here's a speech that Ronald Reagan made at the Oval Office about the tragedy.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd planned to speak to you tonight to report on the State of the Union. But the events of earlier today have led me to change those plans. Today is a day for mourning and remembering. Nancy and I are pained to the core by the tragedy of the Shuttle Challenger. We know we share this pain with all of the people of our country. This is truly a national loss. 19 years ago, almost to the day, we lost 3 astronauts in a terrible accident on the ground. But we've never lost an astronaut in flight. We've never had a tragedy like this. And perhaps we've forgotten the courage it took for the crew of the shuttle. But they, the Challenger 7, were aware of the dangers, but overcame them and did their jobs brilliantly. We mourn 7 heroes: Michael Smith, Dick Scobie, Judith Resnick, Ronald McNair, Ellison Onizuka, Gregory Jarvis, and Krista Mikaloff. We mourn their loss as a nation together. To the families of the 7, we cannot bear, as you do, the full impact of this tragedy. But we feel the loss, and we're thinking about you so very much. Your loved ones were daring and brave, and they had that special grace, that special spirit that says, give me a challenge, and I'll meet it with joy. They had a hunger to explore the universe and discover its truths. They wished to serve, and they did. They served all of us. We've grown used to wonders in this century. It's hard to dazzle us. But for 25 years, the United States space program has been doing just that. We've grown used to the idea of space, and perhaps we forget that we've only just begun. We're still pioneers. They, the members of the Challenger crew, were pioneers. And I want to say something to the school children of America who were watching the live coverage of the shuttle's takeoff. I know it's hard to understand, but sometimes painful things like this happen. It's all part of the process of exploration and discovery. It's all part of taking a chance and expanding man's horizons. The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. The Challenger crew was pulling us into the future, and we'll continue to follow them. I've always had great faith in and respect for our space program, and what happened today does nothing to diminish it. We don't hide our space program. We don't keep secrets and cover things up. We do it all up front and in public. That's the way freedom is, and we wouldn't change it for a minute. We'll continue our quest in space. There will be more shuttle flights and more shuttle crews, and yes, more volunteers, more civilians, more teachers in space. Nothing ends here. Our hopes and our journeys continue. I want to add that I wish I could talk to every man and woman who works for NASA or who worked on this mission and tell them your dedication and professionalism have moved and impressed us for decades, and we know of your anguish. We share it. There's a coincidence today. On this day, 390 years ago, the great explorer Sir Francis Drake died aboard ship off the coast of Panama. In his lifetime, the great frontiers were the oceans, and a historian later said he lived by the sea, died on it, and was buried in it. Well, today, we can say of the Challenger crew, their dedication was, like Drake's, complete.